Our government, one of the many core elements of the United States. Without it, our country would basically fall apart, either by our hands or the government's hands. But I'm not here to talk about that. Instead, we'll be talking about another government, one that was so awful that because of its own actions against the government, it caused its leader to commit suicide. My name is Henrique, and welcome to Rulers Without Rules. First, let's talk about authoritarian governments. I hear you might be asking, what does it even mean? Well, don't worry, for I have all of the information that you'll need to understand anything that comes out of my mouth. Authoritarian means a government which focuses on maintaining high levels of power, and said government will try to suppress anyone that opposes or takes away said powers. So it's basically a corrupt government will try to bring down anyone if they fought back against it. Kind of reminds me of another certain group from the 1930s. Oh right, the Nazis! When Adolf Hitler gained full power and control, he almost instantly began to spread propaganda about the Jews. This was clear fascism, which if you don't know what that is, that's basically a type of government that was controlled by one person, or a cult following said person. Speaking of fascism, let's take just a quick detour and investigate that instead. Fascism is incredibly important towards learning about the Holocaust, so much so that there are 14 different points that go towards it, with those being powering or continuing nationalism, a disdain for human rights, the identification of citizens or scapegoats, military supremacy, sexism, major control over mass media, national security obsession, religion and government intertwined, protected corporate power, labor power suppressed, disdain for the arts, crime obsession, corruption, and fraudulent elections. Wow, that's a lot. But all of this will be relevant soon, but for now, just keep this in the back of your head. Let's get back to the point. During the 1930s, which was after the Second World War, the Nazis all gathered themselves together and decided that now would be the totally perfect time to kill multiple innocent Jewish people. So after some time, they rushed to the streets, and so the Holocaust began. How did it end, you might be asking? Well, not great. When the Holocaust began and Hitler rose to great lengths of power, he almost immediately took advantage of said power and began to destroy an entire country's worth of people. For example,
he ushered in a period of history which unprecedented atrocities were committed against innocent people. Against the backdrop of World War II, which was fought on 6 continents, and in which Hitler worked to realize his goal for European domination, the Holocaust claimed the lives of 6 million Jewish men, women, and children.
The Holocaust was a super tough time for the Jewish, and even the French, as they were also affected by this. Nazis coming in from every corner was terrifying for people, and rightfully so. Luckily, there would be resistances forming that planned to fight back against the Nazis, such as the French Resistance, which was led by Charles de Gaulle and Jean Moulin. Charles would help in the British military in World War II up until 1940, where he would be fleeing to Algiers and beginning to help the French fight in the Holocaust. However, he would resign from his position in 1946. As for Jean, however, he would keep his role as the leader of the French Resistance, coordinating multiple groups in the resistance as well as the council for said resistance, and then becoming the chairman. This was until June of 1943, where he would be captured by the Nazi police and basically tortured from prison to prison, and he eventually died while being on a train heading to Germany. The Nazis wouldn't give up though, even if there were people who fought back against them. It seems that whenever the Jews went, the Nazis followed too. They could be in the forests, the ghettos, or even death camps, and they would still have to fight for themselves, along with some other resistance groups originating from France, Russia, and even Yugoslavia. This shows how corrupted and twisted the Nazis were when it came to their takeover. This is also correlated to some main points of fascism, which were corruption, military supremacy, crime obsession, and a disdain for human rights, and this is to only name a few. Speaking of human rights, the Holocaust got so bad to the point where Jews weren't just being stripped from their homes and resources, but also laws that were protecting them. They were being ruled out completely by Nazi Germany. For example,
anti-Semitism and the persecution of Jews represented a central tenet of Nazi ideology. In their 25-point party program, Nazi party members publicly declared their intention to segregate Jews from Aryan society and to revoke Jews' political, legal, and civil rights.
As you saw there, this was an entirely separate segregation for Jewish people created by Nazis. This was horrific as there were so many sections dedicated to basically stripping them away from their own rights. For example,
restricted the number of Jewish people at German schools and universities, sharply curtailed Jewish participation in medical and legal professions, restricted Jewish doctors from being unbursed with public or state health insurance funds for their service, and revoked the licenses of Jewish tax consultants.
and the list is still going. Just goes to show how much the Nazis truly hated the Jewish. With all of this in mind, Germany was basically in the trenches. Major unemployment for everyone, and a worldwide economic depression made its way to the country as well, which turned out to be the worldwide Great Depression. This would be the state of Germany for many years and would not find a stopping point, at least until 1945. After all the fighting and the constant deaths, Nazi Germany was finally defeated. This would also be long after Hitler committed suicide due to World War II. Since then, multiple Nazi camps and evidence of Nazi crimes were uncovered by troops. As for the survivors, however, they had lost almost everything that they worked for, including their housing and resources. Some people even lost their lives because of the Holocaust.
After liberation, many Jewish survivors feared to return to their former homes because of the anti-Semitism, hatred of Jews, that persisted in parts of Europe, and the trauma they had suffered. Some who returned home feared for their lives. In post-war Poland, for example, there was a number of pogroms, violent anti-Jewish riots. The largest of these occurred in the town of Kili in 1946 when Polish rioters killed at least 42 Jews and beat many others.
Allied forces began to try and help the survivors, giving them housing and food, making most, if not all, the survivors into displaced persons. They were also placed into DP camps, with one of them being Bergen-Belsen in Germany. Many Jewish agencies also wanted to help the DPs, and so they helped out with giving them more food and water, as well as housing. Some agencies even provided vocational training for those who wanted it. After a long couple years of rebuilding, moving people to camps, and a lot of migration, the government finally passed the Displaced Persons Act, which was an act to give most, if not all, DPs their own immigration visas, officially making it so that they were able to live in the US permanently.
In 1948, the U.S. Congress passed the Displaced Persons Act. The act provided approximately 400,000 U.S. immigrant visas for displaced persons between January 1st, 1949 and December 31st, 1952. Of the 400,000 displaced persons who entered the U.S. under the DP Act, approximately 68,000 were Jews.
After all the years, I guess the biggest question that people want to know about all this is, what would life be like if the Holocaust never happened? Would the impact have been just as big as the original Holocaust, if not bigger? Or would it even make it to the history books? I mean, the Holocaust is remembered as a horrific event. It was the rise of the Nazis, the cause of hundreds upon millions of deaths, and of course, the reason why Hitler wanted to use his power in the first place. Without him, the Jews wouldn't have to go through such a traumatic experience, and there wouldn't have been the laws to go against them either that would have been passed by Nazi Germany. However, something to think about is that even without the Holocaust, the Jews would have probably kept their vibrant communities and cultural contributions to society anyway. There probably would have also been a much more different approach to human rights, probably because of the whole Displaced Persons Act from after the Holocaust. All in all, the Holocaust was an awful event that risked and even killed the lives of so many innocent people. Those who have suffered through the Holocaust will never be forgotten. Thanks for listening.